My name is Walter Moreau. I'm proud to be the Executive Director of Foundation Communities. Welcome to the Jordan at Mueller. This is a community we have 135 families that live here. It's all affordable housing. We're here in the Learning Center, which is really, I think, the heart and soul of our community, where we have fitness classes and after-school programs for kids. And you'll hear from a resident in just a second. It is really awesome to see such a broad coalition of leaders in Austin to be here for this rally. Our purpose today is to rally support for at least a $300 million housing bond. These housing bonds, we wouldn't be here at the Jordan if it wasn't for housing bonds. Bonds were a crucial part of the financing to build this. We depend on the housing bonds for home repair, home ownership opportunities, rental housing that's affordable for hardworking families in Austin, housing for folks who have been homeless. Some of the bonds go towards buying the land that's before it's out of reach to build more housing in the future. Personally, I really care about this. This is not just a job for me. I want to live in an Austin that is diverse, that includes friends, family, people that I work with, people from church, that would be priced out of Austin if we didn't have affordable options for people. My guess is this isn't just personal, this is everybody in this room. You're all here today because we all know people that need affordable housing in Austin.
That's right.
Yeah. So I hope that everybody watching, people will, and the voters will join our coalition to build more affordable housing, support these housing bonds in November. And I'm very honored now to introduce Ellie Acuna, an amazing mother of two beautiful daughters who calls the Jordan her home, and she has volunteered to share her story with you today.
Good morning. As you said, my name is Ellie Acuna. I am single momming it with two beautiful little humans. My Solana just is about to turn 9 this weekend, and my Solis just turned 6 last weekend. They're both named after the sun, as they are absolutely the love and light of my life. Both of my daughters are joyful, despite each of them having severe health challenges. Solana was born with a severe immune deficiency, which makes her highly susceptible to illness, far more than you or I. She proceeds through life with a smile on her face, however. Solis, my youngest, is severely disabled and has been placed at about 6 months cognitively. She doesn't attend school because of this and does require around-the-clock care. My path as a single mom began in 2019 when I left my marriage, as it had reached a point where my safety was in danger. I began looking for housing in the area, hoping to find a place near Dell Children's, which is also near the pediatrician's office. Having enough space to accommodate Solis's many weekly in-house therapies, as well as the equipment that goes along with that, was essential for us. I also needed something I could afford while still being able to provide for my medically fragile children with all the expenses that insurance does not cover. Being unable to work a typical 40-hour-per-week job outside of the home because of my children's medical issues makes that very, very difficult. It seemed impossible with the high cost of housing in Austin. Thankfully, the universe aligned for my girls and I, and we learned about the Jordan at Mueller. I reached out to Foundation Communities and began the application process. And then I very anxiously awaited our approval, as I knew this really was our only option. I have no family in the state of Texas, so this was our one shot. I'm going to confess something that I've never shared with anyone. I was feeling so desperate and nervous and excited at the possibility of being able to move into the Jordan with my girls that I used to come here and sit out front and watch the construction. I would imagine what life would be like for my girls and I while we were here, cooking dinner in the kitchen, or playing a board game in the living room, or reading books before bed. All of the normal things that families are supposed to do in their home. I would even peek in the windows and imagine how I would decorate our space. We were approved, and in 2019, we moved into a very roomy 3-bedroom apartment in the beautiful Mueller neighborhood. Right after I received the keys, I remember unlocking the door and standing there, pausing, and just feeling such gratitude for everything that had come together for the girls and I. And then when I went inside, I cried my eyes out. Everything we need is so close. The hospitals, the stores, a great elementary school, beautiful parks, it's all here. And while I'm working with Solis on her daily therapies, Solana gets to come to the Learning Center and socialize with her friends and have beautiful experiences with the amazing teachers here. Our rent is affordable, which has allowed me to go back to school and work toward building a better life for my girls. I'm currently just a couple hours away from becoming a licensed massage therapist. And following that, I plan to pursue my master's and then my PhD in holistic medicine. There are no words to truly express my gratitude to Foundation Communities, to the City of Austin, and to the voters that have made all of this happen. You never know what life has in store for you, because before I became a mom, I spent over 10 years of my life working in homeless shelters and with veterans and other people that were facing housing challenges and many other issues. Being on the other side of the housing issue is something I never expected would happen to me. As everything in life does, this too will come full circle. 10 years from now, when my girls and I are in a very different place in life, I will once again be helping those facing housing crisis. As a donor, in support of other single moms rising up, meeting their goals, creating the lives that they and their children deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Ali, for sharing your comments. We really appreciate it. I would like to now invite Councilmember Jose Chito Vela to share his remarks.
Thank you very much, and that was such a touching and compelling story. I'm very excited to support this affordable housing bond in November. Austin must continue to make investments in affordable housing for our low-income residents. Honestly, we probably need to pass a $300 million affordable housing bond every 2 years for the next 2 decades if we're going to build the critical mass of affordable housing that we need in this city. At the same time, we must continue reforming our land development code and permitting process to make it easier and less expensive for the private sector to build market-rate housing. By doing both, we can make sure Austin is a welcoming city for working-class people. Thank Councilmember Natasha Harper-Madison could not be here this morning, but she did ask me to read some remarks on her behalf. We desperately need more public investments to build on the success of previous bonds that have strengthened the safety net for our most marginalized neighbors. So I can't wait to vote to put this new bond before the voters. However, our needs are much greater than a few $100 million. We need to use every tool at our disposal, and that includes rewriting our outdated rules and regulations that have created and continue to reinforce racial and economic segregation. Our city is sick with an affordability crisis, and the 3 best treatments are housing, housing, and more housing.
Yes!
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Vela and Councilmember Harper-Madison. I'd like to now invite Simone Talma Flowers, the chair of the Austin Housing Repair Coalition, to speak.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your testimony. Living in a pandemic has shown us the fragility of life and how life can change at a moment's notice. We saw essential workers at the front lines keeping services going so we can live. The pandemic showed us the levels of disparities in our community and made us realize how important it is to care for each other, how important it is for everyone to have a home, a safe place to live. There has been an accelerated transformation of our beloved city of Austin. Austin's housing growth exploded. Prices of homes and rent are at an all-time high. It is difficult for moderate income families to afford to buy a home in Austin, far less low-income families. We want Austin to be a city where everyone at any income level can live. The only solution to help Austin with this affordable housing crisis is a bond election. It is our responsibility to care for and keep our elderly and people who live with disabilities in the homes and communities they know and love. It is our responsibility to make sure that essential workers and people in the service industry can afford to rent or buy a home within Austin. It is our responsibility to house the unhoused. Everyone deserves to live in a decent home. I represent the Austin Housing Repair Coalition that's made up of nonprofit organizations, government entities, and housing advocates who are committed to ensuring that low-income homeowners stay in their homes by providing needed repairs that keep a home safe, healthy, and accessible. We believe this is only possible through a bond election. The affordable housing bonds fund home repairs for vulnerable owners. They are critical in providing needed repairs so the elderly and people who live with disabilities can continue to stay in their home and age in place. The home repair program is a critical anti-displacement program. It tackles displacement and gentrification by allowing homeowners to remain in their homes and communities. Home repairs is one of the best tools in fighting displacement by keeping our neighbors in their homes, in the community, and in Austin. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you, Simone, for those powerful words. I would like to now invite Mayor Adler to share his remarks.
Really proud to stand here with so many community leaders and heroes. So proud to be here with my colleagues on the City Council. This city is facing a housing and affordability crisis. We have been approached as a council by a very wide and broad and united community coalition asking this council to act. Quite frankly, I think that my colleagues and I on the council believe we have a responsibility and a duty to respond. The 2018 bond, affordable housing bond, has resulted in almost a fourfold increase in the amount of affordable housing, subsidized affordable housing in this community. And frankly, we have run out of money. And this is absolutely the wrong time to stop. We have momentum, we have direction, and the need continues to increase. This is a city that is building more housing than any city in the country right now. And it is not enough. We have to keep our foot on the pedal. If we are going to protect what is special and magical about this city, we have to protect and preserve the people that live here. The way that we do that is to support housing in this community. I will join with my colleagues in considering a housing bond at the meeting that we have next week as part of the city council, where we will consider responding to this very broad and very strong and very wide community coalition that is asking the city council to act. I hope that we do, and I invite the community to then join in support in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to now invite Councilmember Ann Kitchen to share her remarks with us.
Good morning, everyone. I am so proud and excited to be here with our community leaders and with my colleagues and the mayor. It is absolutely time, as all have said, and I add my voice to what everyone has said so far, to act. We can't run out of money. We just cannot run out of housing bond money. That has been such a successful program. I also want to thank you, and thank you for telling your story. That really helps make this real for people, and that's so important. I know it can't be easy to do that. So a couple of points that I want to emphasize that others have said that I think are really important for me in particular. So as others have said, this is not, housing affordability is not one battle on one front. This is something that has to be fought on multiple fronts at the same time. The bond is a crucial piece of our fight for affordability, and it's one we must pursue. Transit, I want to remind folks how important bonds are to ensuring that everyone in our community can live along transit lines and participate in transportation, which helps them participate in all of what Austin is. So this bond will help us do that also. As others have said, if we don't act, if we don't continue to act, if we don't accelerate how we're acting, we're going to see more displaced families and more people experiencing homelessness in the community. So we must respond. And finally, I want to emphasize that we will be responsible, of course, as our community leaders are in terms of understanding the impact of the cost. But we are looking at least a $300 million bond, and the current estimates show that the average homeowner will contribute around a few dollars a month. And that's just a few dollars a month to ensure that those most vulnerable in our community have affordable housing opportunities. This is an investment in people, as the mayor said, and it's an investment that we must make and our city must make. So again, I'm so proud to be here with everyone, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Councilmember Kitchen. We now have Renee Lopez, who serves on the Board of Accessible Housing Austin, to share some remarks with us.
Good morning. As he said, I am on the Board of Accessible Housing Austin, and we are a nonprofit organization that provides housing for people with disabilities that is accessible, affordable, and integrated into the community. One reason I'm so passionate about housing for everyone is because being a person with a disability, for years I think we were just the forgotten lot. People didn't think about accessibility, and many of us had no choice but to go live in nursing homes or some kind of institution. But ever since the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, we've changed all that, and we now want to be a part of the community. We are, members of the community, and I want to be right here with you. And I want to shop at H-E-B right beside you. And, we all want that. Everybody wants that. We want to belong. We want to feel like we're a part of our community. I'm here to support the housing bonds because bonds have been really critical in providing affordable and accessible housing for people with disabilities. And one example is that, like I mentioned, at Briarcliff. And it took us 10 years to do this, 10 years, to get a 27-unit apartment complex on Briarcliff, not too far from here, that is fully accessible. And it's not enough at all. I mean, we filled up like in seconds, and there's still people out there who need housing, especially now with the expense of finding housing. So just imagine if you are low income and you're having a hard time finding housing. Well, what if you're disabled and you can't find an accessible housing? That used to be a problem when I was looking for a house. We saw like 20 houses that we had to look at and consider before we moved into one because places are not accessible. Now, I was one of the lucky ones. I was able to buy a house because I was able to work. But there are many who aren't able to, and they desperately want to live in the community. And the only way we're going to do this is to pass the housing bond. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget people with disabilities, because we are a group of people who desperately need housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee, for sharing that. We really appreciate all of your advocacy on our behalf. I now want to invite Chris Baker, the Executive Director of the Other Ones Foundation, to share his remarks.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I just want to give a quick shout out to our brothers and sisters at the Austin Justice Coalition for inviting me to be here and for all their work on this campaign so far is really exciting. My name is Chris, and as a resident of this city, and the Other Ones Foundation as an organization serving people experiencing homelessness in this city, both are here to roundly endorse this campaign. We're very excited to put more work into solving this crisis, this affordability and housing crisis that we have in this city. And I think it's important that you keep hearing that word, crisis, over and over again when people are up here talking. We have to be thinking of this as the crisis that it is. I think about that word, it's thrown around a lot hyperbolically, but in this case, if you go out and talk to any of the thousands of people that are experiencing homelessness in this city, or the thousands of people that are facing eviction in Travis County right now today, I think the argument would be made that we are facing a crisis. And in thinking about this word crisis, I went and looked it up in the dictionary, and it's got a medical definition, and that is the turning point of a disease when important change takes place, indicating either recovery or death. We cannot let housing affordability become the death nail in the coffin of this community. We can't do it. 13 years ago, just not a mile from here, my wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time, but my wife and I lived in a one-bedroom apartment right over there off 35 in Hyde Park. That apartment was $600 a month. That apartment today is $2,200 a month. She worked at an outlet store in the mall. I was an intern with South by Southwest, and we were able to live in Austin. We are quickly getting away from a community that allows that sort of thing to happen. So what do we do when we have a crisis? We work the problem. We get to work working the problem. I am not going to stand up here and lie to you and say that affordable housing is the silver bullet that's going to solve homelessness. It's not. But it is an important piece. So we got to work the problem. The affordable housing bonds are an important part of working that problem. We know that bond funds create permanent supportive housing. The 2018 bonds played an important role, a critical role, in creating at least 800 units of permanent supportive housing in our community. These bonds funded, our bond-funded projects have really contributed to housing stability for a lot of our brothers and sisters that are low-income earners in the city and people across that spectrum. Also, let's talk about harm reduction. Harm reduction is something that is taking the forefront of the conversation about the health and well-being of the people in this community, because we have a crisis on our hands of people dying from all sorts of problems that come with poverty, substance use disorders being one of those. Housing stability plays a crucial role, and it is a crucial form of harm reduction for people who are facing those issues. Housing, my friends, we have to start thinking of it as a human right, a human right. Housing is a human right, and it's time that we put our money where our mouths are and get this thing done. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Chris. I'd like to now invite Councilmember Vanessa Fuentes to share her remarks.
My gosh, that's going to be really hard to follow. But, I really thank you, Chris, because I want to underscore your remarks on the crisis, because last night I attended a community meeting in my district in South Austin at the Congress Mobile Home Community, where we have 40 families who are actively being displaced. And I asked them, how many of y'all are looking for housing here in Austin, Travis County? Not one of them raised their hand. These are families who have been in Austin for decades, whose average monthly rent is about $700, utilities included, and there are not options for them to go to right now on this day. This is the crisis that we're in, which is why I am very proud to support this bond proposal, knowing how critically these funds are needed to get out in our community, knowing that this proposal is rooted in equity and helping our most vulnerable communities and helping our communities of color and helping our low-income communities. And that is what's needed, especially when we consider Austin's history with redlining, with decades of stagnant wages. We need funding like this so we can invest in our communities at a time when it's most needed. And so with that, I just wanted to offer the remarks that we are actively also in a displacement crisis, and that is why we have to act with urgency in supporting this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Fuentes. I'd like to now invite Councilmember Kathy Doe to share her remarks.
Thank you. Thanks to all the community advocates who have come to the council and asked us to support this bond. I'm here today to wholeheartedly support this bond. I've been a strong supporter of the bond since 2006, when Austin was one of the very first communities in the country to pass an affordable housing bond. And I remember when we had that conversation in 2006, and I was invited to help build support among neighborhood associations across the city. We talked about how not only is this critically needed to create the housing that we need in every part of town, but that it would also help Austin developers of affordable housing pull in funds from other places. And if you look at our 2006 bond, our 2013 bond, our 2018 bond, and I know this next one will do the same, you see that the developments that were created were able to leverage that city funding, even if it wasn't very much, to bring tens of millions of dollars into this community to create not just safe and stable housing for individuals, for families, but also we're able to create great jobs. It's been an economic development program in many ways for this city. And as I look at that housing, it's also some of our most sustainable development in Austin. Yesterday, the mayor and I had an opportunity to attend the ribbon cutting at Roosevelt Gardens, which is a community that is going to provide affordable housing for individuals who are who are experiencing homelessness and have HIV. And I was told afterward that they are also on track to get a 5-star green building rating. So not only are those going to be safe, connected housing right in central Austin, but it's also going to be sustainable housing that helps those residents really save money on their bills. So I am super proud to support this bond. We need it. If you look at the housing that's been created, it has been in every part of town. Here in District 9, which you're in today, just in Mueller alone, you have Aldridge Place down the road, you have Wildflower Terrace, which provides affordable housing for seniors. These are vibrant, necessary communities, and I am so proud to live in a city that has consistently come out, where voters have consistently said, yes, we want to make these investments to make sure that all of our neighbors have safe and stable places to sleep. So thank you again, and look forward to a success here in the fall.
you, Councilmember Tovo. I now want to invite Jeremy Hendricks, who's director at LIUNA and the Local 1095, to share his perspective.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy Hendricks with the Laborers Union, and I represent construction and service workers here in Central Texas. And LIUNA members work every day to build and service this amazing city, but unfortunately, like so many others, they struggle to live in this city they love. That's why I want to thank you for inviting me here today to stand with this amazing group of community leaders and everyone in this room to really say that it's time to build a fairer, more prosperous Austin that includes quality, affordable housing for everyone, because together we can make that a reality through this housing bond. We have the tools to address this desperate need, and we need another affordable housing bond. I want to reemphasize something that Councilmember Tovo said. Not only is this housing a lifeline for these workers, these essential workers who are trying to stay in this community, but it's also a lifeline for folks looking for good jobs. At the same time, affordable housing bonds, have created thousands of jobs in the past, and every day hundreds of people provide critical services in these communities to the folks taking advantage of these affordable housing communities. And so it is absolutely a win-win for workers when we build affordable housing and we build those right with good jobs in this community for the workers living in this community. So please join me in saying yes to a 2022 housing bond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. I now want to invite Councilmember Sabina Pio Renteria to share his remarks.
I want to thank you and good morning to all of y'all. You know, we are in a crisis. We are definitely in a crisis. You know, my big frustration, and I'm not going to repeat every word that's been said, but my big frustration is to see nonprofit and city property vacant and cannot be built on because we do not have the funding. And that's the big problem that we're facing here in Austin. You know, when we have private foreign investors that are coming out and coming into Austin and buying our houses up and renting and charging huge amount of rents, it's almost criminal that they do those kind of things. But, you know, we live in a society, a capitalist society that allows those kind of things to happen to us. But we do have a way to solve the problem, and it's through a bond election. The last bond election was $250 million that we did, and I was pushing for $300 million because we knew that that we were going to go into a situation where we were going to have a housing crisis, and now we have a housing crisis. And don't let people say to you that we can't do these things. Look outside the window here and you'll see Mueller. That was our plan, the city of Austin land, and we got 25%, if not more, affordable housing on this location. And we could keep on doing this. You know, we just want to ask the citizens, what's more important? What's more important than having workers here to take care of your restaurants, to clean your hotels? Those are what the workers that need housing here, and they cannot afford to stay here. And if we lose those people, you're not going to be able to run a business here in Austin. So people, we need your help, we need your support. Go out and let's win this bond election for our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Renteria. Before I invite our next speaker to round off our conversation, I just want to thank all of you for being here and all of the amazing community leaders. I do want to acknowledge and thank Judge Brown for being here. I want to thank and acknowledge Councilmember Ellis for being here and all the amazing community leaders and candidates who've joined us today. So to round off our conversation, I want to invite João Paulo Conley from the Austin Justice Coalition.
Thank you all for coming out to support this. This is so important. It means so much to us. As others have said, this is a broad coalition. We have 25 groups officially endorsing and many, many more joining us in the coming week to ask our city council members and Austin's voters to get behind a bond of at least $300 million in this election in this November. We need your help to get there. Now, although we believe this is extremely important, we were also worried with everything that's happened in the past year. Is this really the right year to go for another bond? And our polls have showed us that 68% of the folks we spoke to said they would support a large affordable housing bond in November. And that shows us that we have a special window of opportunity to act, and we have a responsibility. This is personal for me because I'm a renter, and like many of my fellow renters in Austin, we have seen dramatic spikes and increases in our rent in this town, and the likelihood that we will be able to stay and afford to continue living in Austin is decreasing rapidly every day. And we believe that the city of Austin should be actively working to address the affordability crisis. And 83% of the folks that we polled said the same. They believe that the city of Austin government should be actively working to do everything within its power to address the affordability crisis. So here is our chance, here is our opportunity. We can't wait 2 years, we can't wait for the next election cycle, we have to act now. And I hope everyone here will do more than just attend this campaign kickoff. I hope you all will become activated in your communities. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, reach out, share about this on social media, reach out to your networks. Let's expand this campaign. Let's make this campaign about everybody. This should be the issue that we can all unite around and we can all get behind. This matters to us as a community. Thank you for joining us today. Let's win this.